free.
News Talk 610 AM and 102.1 FM. KVNU.
I'm Bill Walter, KVNU News. News is brought to you by Roof Rescue. Many folks have family in town for the holidays, and if you're looking for a family-friendly event to take them to, the annual Winter Steam Festival will be held this Saturday, Sunday, and Monday at the Golden Spike National Historic Park in Box Elder County. The festival is one of the park's most popular events of the year. The annual tradition is a great opportunity for families to have fun and learn about an incredible part of Utah's history. On KVNU's For the People program earlier, Justin Glasgow, supervisory ranger at Golden Spike, talked about how the festival got started.
I think we've been doing this since 1990, and its precursor was actually a film festival in the 80s, and then somebody thought we should bring out a locomotive during the winter film festival, and then in 1990, so we're on our 34th year here of doing the Winter Steam Festival. So it's a very, very special event for us.
Glasgow said the film component dropped off around the mid-1990s because the locomotive demonstrations took over the show. No pun intended.
With the cold air and heavy warm steam coming out, the contrast is quite nice. And of course, for those of us who are local to the area and have been out here, you know that these are Victorian-style locomotives, so they're brightly colored and very, very ornate. And so there certainly are something to behold on a crisp winter day.
This year, the Union Pacific Locomotive number 119 will take center stage during this year's steam demonstrations. Other activities include locomotive cab tours, handcar and motor car rides. Golden Spike National Historic Park is 32 miles west of Brigham City. To get there, drive west on Utah Highway 13 and Utah 83 through Corinne. Follow the brown directional signs to Golden Spike Drive, turn left, and follow signs to the Visitor Center about 8 miles beyond that. The park did issue a winter driving alert, which states that with recent snows and occurring through, especially this afternoon and this evening, you might expect hazardous driving conditions leading into the park. Hopefully things will be better as the weekend goes along. For more information, you can go to nps.gov/GOSP. With Christmas over, the Utah Theater is launching a retrospective of films by famed director Steven Spielberg during the remainder of December and throughout January in the new year. Spielberg is certainly due that kind of attention, as he is considered a major figure in the new Hollywood era beginning in the 1970s and a pioneer of major movie blockbusters. Viewed as one of the movie brats of that era, along with film school alumni George Lucas, Martin Scorsese, Francis Ford Coppola, and Brian De Palma, Spielberg made the theatrical debut with cult film Sugarland Express in 1974 and became a household name with the summer blockbuster Jaws a year later. As Hollywood's golden boy, his string of hit movies included Close Encounter of the Third Kind, E.T. the Extraterrestrial, the Indiana Jones trilogy, Jurassic Park, Schindler's List, and Saving Private Ryan. Many of those films will be screened at the Utah Theater in downtown Logan over the next 4 weeks. And if you're out at a bar or a restaurant during the holiday season, you might see a flyer from the Department of Public Safety, part of their campaign to help people get home safely during the holidays. Jason Metman with Utah Highway Safety Office said they don't want any empty chairs at that dinner table during the holidays, and it can happen in a flash. Metman said that over the last 5 years, Utah has averaged 400 crashes on Christmas statewide, with about 14 of those being drug or alcohol related. And that's just one day out of the year. In 2023, law enforcement saw 47 impaired driving related fatalities just due to alcohol. And this year, unfortunately, they've exceeded that number and seen more than 50. DPS wants to see that number go down, so they've started a campaign at select places for those those looking to go out for some holiday fun. KVNU weather brought to you by Mount Logan Laundry with their 55 and 80-pound washers to make your stay much shorter in Logan and Brigham City. Of course, the heavy snow in the mountains does continue, and winter storm warning there, and also a avalanche warning for the backcountry as well outside of developed ski areas. For the Cache Valley tonight, though, looks like rain and snow in the forecast. New snow accumulation of less than half an inch possible tonight. Rain possibly mixed with snow on Saturday, becoming all rain after about 11 a.m. High temperature near 40 degrees. Get more news at CacheValleyDaily.com.
For over a decade, Roof Rescue has been safeguarding your homes with the finest roofing solutions. We understand the value of your time. That's why we're committed to replacing most roofs in just one day. With award-winning service, 100% guaranteed workmanship, and the best warranties in the industry, your watertight peace of mind is guaranteed. Call us today at 435-999-4268 or visit RoofRescueUSA.com and ask for the $250 off any roof replacement. Financing available? That's RoofRescueUSA.com.
KVNU Aggie Game Day on 102 FM, 610 AM, and at kvnutalk.com.
This is Dr. Red, chiropractic physician with Red River Health and Wellness. Are you suffering with fatigue, brain fog, headaches, intestinal issues, weight gain, and you haven't been able to find any answers?
Before I started at Red River, I was having a lot of stomach pain. I was overweight, severe anxiety, some depression. I had been to multiple doctors. I'd been to specialists. We had done tests, and no one could find anything that was wrong.
Red River Health and Wellness can help you.
I'm on anxiety medicine. I've lowered my dose, and I'm working with my doctor to continue to lower it. I'm sleeping through the night. I have energy for my kids. I've lost 30 pounds. I just feel really good.
Our goal is to teach you and educate you so you know how to manage your condition a lot more effectively, and you know what to do and what not to do for the rest of your life.
Schedule your appointment today at 855-55-RIVER. Red River Health and Wellness with offices in Logan, South Jordan, Springville, and St. George.
Call Red River today.
This Christmas, unwrap adventure and year-end savings at West Motor Company. Take up to $12,000 off select Ram heavy duties and up to $11,000 off Ram 1500 or Jeep Grand Cherokee L. Family focused? Save up to $8,500 on Chrysler Pacifica or $3,000 on a new Dodge Durango. It's the year-end clearance. Visit West Motor Company in Preston or shop online from the comfort of your home. West Motor Company, bringing adventure and savings to your holidays. Merry Christmas.
Nestled in the heart of breathtaking landscape, Maple Creek Ranch on the north end of Cache Valley is more than just land. It's where your story begins. It's the perfect location for building your dream home. But only a few lots remain, so act now to claim your piece of paradise. Imagine mornings with breathtaking views, evenings by the fire, and every moment surrounded by the peaceful charm of nature. With stunning views, babbling brooks, and miles of wilderness. Google Maple Creek Ranch to learn more about these final few lots.
It's Fisher Home Furnishings year-end liquidation. The last week of the year, Fisher's marks down and clears out all overstocks. One-of-a-kinds, unclaimed layaways, closeouts, late Christmas arrivals, and discontinued items. Take another 20 to 40% off the lowest marked sale price. Bassett, La-Z-Boy, Flexsteel, Serta, Bernhardt, Lexington. All the best brand names at the year's biggest discounts. 20 to 40% off the sale price. Fisher Home Furnishings year-end liquidation sale. No interest financing. Sorry, no layaways at these prices. Shop in-store or anytime at FisherHF.com.
Wonder is timeless. Discovery is everlasting. And exploration is never-ending. At Loveland Living Planet Aquarium, we cherish the unforgettable memories you've shared with us for the past 25 years. Thank you for being a part of our story. Visit livingplanetaquarium.org to embark on a new adventure and continue our journey together.
Did you build a new home? Regardless of how clean your builder was, your ducts will have a variety of construction debris in them. Debris like sawdust, flooring pieces, sheetrock dust, and more. You do not want to move into your home with that debris in the ductwork. Call the Duct Hunter and get on the schedule today. Call the Duct Hunter at 770-4813.
We are the Duct Hunter. Breathe better, save money, protect your home.
back to KVNU's For the People. It's the For the People movie show. Andy Morgan joining us in just a bit. I'm not sure what happened to Andy. Andy, if you're out there, I hope you're okay. He's on his way about 10. He'll be there in 10 minutes, and that was 25 minutes ago. So if anyone knows where Andy is, rescue him. No, I'm assuming it's traffic, because if you have ever been out on certain stretches of road on a Friday afternoon, yeah, it's a bit unpredictable. But Andy, if you're listening, drive careful, drive safe. I'm pretty upset right now, and I need everyone listening to go out and help me out. One of the movies of one of the movies of this year that I thought was just really funny and done really well and so underrated. And I think it was because of timing when it hit theaters and some other stuff that was right before and right after. And this movie just got kind of the short end of the stick. But The Fall Guy. This was released May 3rd of this year. Stars Ryan Gosling, Emily Blunt, Aaron Taylor-Johnson, Teresa Palmer, Winston Duke. It's really funny. It really is. It kind of came in the middle of some misses and some, I think maybe that scared people away a little bit. I don't know. But it's a really, really funny movie. It's really, Lee Majors, I can't believe I forgot to mention Lee Majors is in it, but it's a really, really funny movie and a great tribute to the original 80s TV show. And it just, yeah, it sort of just kind of came and went, and I thought undeservedly. But now, today, I'm super upset. Because I just noticed, so getting ready for our year-end recap here, I went to Box Office Mojo, and I started just kind of scrolling through. There aren't a lot of surprises as far as, what's at the top. Inside Out 2, we're talking worldwide here, not just domestic, not just U.S. money. But Inside Out 2 is, just top of the list. And I think that's, I don't know, maybe surprising to some, but it was a Disney Pixar sequel. The original was a huge hit. Yeah, no surprises there. I think many people would probably be surprised to know that number 2 in worldwide box office haul right now is Deadpool 3, Deadpool and Wolverine. But if you've seen the first, I mean, these are really popular with the target audiences, and that to me is I don't know, very little surprise. But here is and Despicable Me 4 is kind of mixed in here, by the way, if you want to know. But here's what makes me mad. It's still in theaters, I think, or in a couple theaters, but it might also be in, I know it's on, I think it hit Amazon. I can't remember. One of the streaming services, it's already there, but Red One is beating The Fall Guy by about $1 million. No, not even that. Well, yeah, almost exactly, actually, $1 million. 182.2 and 181.0 for The Fall Guy. I need everyone to go fix this. I don't know how. We've got to do a sometime between now and January or December 31st. I guess we're going to have to do a GoFundMe for The Fall Guy. This is tragic. The absolute crime against humanity that is Red One, and this excellent comedy action adventure movie that was done so well. It could have been so bad and was done so well. And one of the reasons I want to see The Fall Guy get rewarded is so that more movies like this are made. I want to see, these aren't my absolute favorite genre. If you want to get into my favorite genres as far as moneymakers go, in my favorite genres, the top moneymakers were Long Legs, horror movies, and Furiosa, Mad Max Saga, sci-fi fantasy movies. Those are kind of my favorite genres if I go to. But I enjoy the action adventure comedy world as well. Alien Romulus is way up there too, by the way. Unfortunately, it's behind Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, which also makes me mad now that I think about it. So it was a good year for these types of movies, and I find it most of the top box office list I'm looking at here, I find it totally unsurprising. Makes total sense. I'm actually surprised Civil War made as much as it did. It wasn't as bad as a lot of people said. I actually liked it. And by the way, they do tell you who the president is in Civil War. That was one of the big things. Remember that? Everyone was, does it get political? Do they have a message? Or do they get partisan? And everybody goes and sees the movie and says, no, actually they handled that very carefully. But there's a clue. Political junkies all spotted it. It's a conversation in which just a tiny little detail is thrown out about how a certain thing happens involving the FBI. And the minute they say that, you realize the director actually is saying, putting his thumb on the scale there in a partisan way. But don't let that scare you away from it. I'm just surprised it made a lot of money, because who has fun going and seeing a movie like that? It made about $126 million in the U.S. alone. So not bad. But yeah, I'm somehow between now and December 31st, we've got to find a way to raise about $1.2 million, $1 million, 200,000 for The Fall Guy, so that their total box office haul. The problem is, I don't know if there's even anywhere you can pay for this movie right now. It's on a couple of streaming services, but just included in the subscription. And it's not going to be in a theater, and I don't know if Andy's stuck in the hallway on a phone call here, but I'm not sure if DVD and Blu-ray sales count towards this. I'm clicking as fast as I can, but yeah, this is tragic. This can't stand. Red One is one of those movies that I want to see never happen, and yet there it is, and it's beating The Fall Guy. Okay, we're not going to be able to change this before the end of the year, but in solidarity with me, go see The Fall Guy, and don't go see Red One. All right, we'll be back with Andy Morgan and the For the People Movie Show 2024 Year in Review right after this.
News Talk 610 AM, 102.1 FM, KVNU.
Hi, this is Chris Wilson at Wilson Motor Company. We are in the middle of our year-end closeout sale on all 2024 models. We have a great selection of over 80 F-150s and Super Duties in stock and coming, and they all need to go. All 2024 models are at closeout pricing. Plus, we have rebates up to $7,500 and interest rates as low as 0% for 72 months. They won't last long. Check out our inventory online at wilsonmotor.com.
Find out who is Northern Utah's Clark Griswold. Focus Pharmacology and CacheValleyDaily.com have an interactive Christmas light and decorations tour map for you to download so you can find Cache Valley's craziest Christmas light displays. The winner and their two closest neighbors each win a $600 supplement package courtesy of Focus Pharmacology, Cache Valley's own premier supplement line. To find the map, go to CacheValleyDaily.com. To find out more about our sponsor, go to FocusPharmacology.com.
For more than a century, S.E. Needham Jewelers has been repairing jewelry and watches in Cache Valley. We do all our work on premises, and you may even talk directly with our expert technicians. We also have today's state-of-the-art equipment, including a laser welder that will repair jewelry with precision. We guarantee our work and offer competitive prices. So whether repairing your precious wedding ring, sizing a ring, or simply changing a watch battery, come to Utah's oldest jewelry store with today's newest technology and repair. S.E. Needham Jewelers, middle of the block at the sign of the clock.
To the For the People movie show with Andy Morgan here in the studio. And Andy, I know you were stuck on a call out there, but did you hear my rant? I'm begging listeners to figure out a way to go make about $1 million for the Fall Guy so that it's ahead of Red One in the end of the year box office worldwide haul. It's losing by about $1 million, and that to me is absolutely just criminal.
You know, there were some comments made yesterday from the Sony. They were talking about Kraven the Hunter, you know, having being like one of the worst Sony releases.
Yeah.
And you and I know this, and I'm not going to talk about Morbius or, you know, Madam Web and stuff.
Still want.
And they're like, these aren't bad movies. And here's what I'm going to say. I'm not going to say they're not bad movies.
Yeah.
But what I would say is, like, you got to give people what they want. And and what I would say is people don't want that.
No.
Does that make sense? You know, so it's not necessarily that the movie's bad or good, because there's been plenty of movies that critics have panned that make a lot of money.
Well, and like Joker 2. It's actually a really good movie. No one wanted that.
That's yeah, exactly. Like it's not so much it's not so much that the movies are bad or good. You know, I mean, Transformers 2 was just ripped to shreds by critics, and that made a haul.
And they should have saved some for Transformers 4.
Made a haul at the box office. One number stands out, Jason, and this is what I'll say.
That's a good point, Transformers 2.
Last year, again, you know, kind of pushed by Barbie and by Oppenheimer and a few other movies, the box office domestic, and I know that's not the whole picture, but let's just talk Americans. 8.9 billion at the box office. That was a 20% increase from the year before. Now, granted, with the last few years have been, let's make up for COVID, right?
Yeah.
You know, we talk about the number of movies that are released in Hollywood. You know, 2018 was the peak. 993 movies were released.
Really?
Yeah. If you go back now, hang with me for just a second here. 993 movies. If you went back another, 10 years to 2008, you're at 725. I mean, that's 200 more movies plus. You go back to 1998, it's 334, right?
Yeah.
88, 239. Now, granted, there's a lot of things, a lot of different things. You know, it's actually easier, I think, to make movies today, especially independent movies, than it was, 20, 30 years ago.
And you've got multiple release options
it is.
now, not just theaters.
It's as long as it's rated by the MPAA, it's considered a domestic release. I actually think they probably.
Is that how they? Okay.
I think so. I could double check, but I think that it's a movie that's released in a calendar year and it has a rating. It was rated. So, so we've been recovering since COVID, right? We went from 2 billion in COVID year 2020, 2021 up to almost 5, 2022 a little over 7. 2023, we get pretty close to 9 billion. And I thought, you and I talked about this at the start of 2024. We said this will be the year. It's going to be like 9 or 10 million. I was dead wrong, unless something happens in the next 4 days, which I really doubt. It looks like they're going to fall short from last year, and they're going to have released almost 60 more movies than they did last year. So this is the point I'm circling back to. And this goes back to your Fallout. I almost said Fallout Boy. Fall Guy. Your Fall Guy comment.
Have you ever loved?
Your Fall Guy. I think we've entered a new era of movie going.
Something's different.
Well,
I can't put my finger on it.
I know. I can say exactly what it is. We have reached the pinnacle of a couple of things. Of the main movie going audience, right, is this. And I'm not saying this is a bad thing. It's kind of fact. It's this TikTok, Instagram generation of 30-second videos who have known a lifetime of streaming. We have more streaming services, more shows than we've ever had at any point, right?
Yeah. It's a whole generation that's used to a lot of choices.
Yeah, well, and it's a running joke now that if you have, right, how much time do you spend just trying to decide what to watch?
Yeah.
Right?
Or the way I like to kind of describe this is how many things do I get halfway through fully intending to finish and don't?
Yeah.
And then years later, I'm like, oh, yeah.
Well, and let's be honest, too. It's also, these aren't just streaming services where this is all new content. We've also got archive content. So that's why a lot of times you go through the Netflix top 10 and you're like, why in the world is this movie from 15 years ago, the number 3 movie in the United States? Yeah. And it's a couple of things. One, people love lists. So they look and go, oh, and it's this kind of going through this archive. I say this all the time, and I've said this before, but it reminds me of the comment that Peter Parker / Spider-Man says in Avengers Civil War when he's like, hey, have you guys seen this really old movie, Empire Strikes Back? Right, it's this generation that they have this wealth of knowledge at their fingertips, and they don't think anyone else knows. So they're like, "Have you guys heard of this movie called No Country for Old Men? Boy, howdy, is it? Yeah, it's a banger, And so,
but it's been like 7 years,
right? And so they just have so many options. Everyone does. I'm picking on that kind of that crew, but everybody does, and so.
This is a great example. So one of my little bits of trivia from the box office here, there's a movie actually made in 2022 in the U.S. It was at Sundance.
Mm-hmm.
Or no, it wasn't at Sundance, but it was at a film festival. It's an 80s based. This was 2022 when it was made, but it's set in the 80s. It's a comedy horror film called Deer Camp 86 about these kids from Detroit that head deer hunting for the first time, get out in the forest, and something starts hunting them. It's a comedy horror film. It was made and released in 2022. It was re-released in the United Arab Emirates, the Middle East, Africa, and parts of Europe this year in May. And just out of nowhere, it made $710,000. and so but that's 2 years after it was released, and but that has to be a streaming service, right?
Yep.
And so that changes movie money making.
Well, and that's kind of what ends up happening is here I have a fix.
Okay. That was where I was going to go with that. How do we fix that where people could make money just recycling 2-year-old films all around the world?
Well, I think Megaplex has kind of thought about this. They're like, hey, guys, it's the Harry Potter marathon. Or, hey, we're going to have, they put old movies in.
Yeah.
And I think they do that to supplement content. Here's the thing. I think there's a couple of realizations. I think Hollywood, here's another side statistic. I heard a stat the other day that said that Disney spending like $630 million on the Andor series. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's a great series, but it feels really inflated
That's a lot of money. You could probably make 3 things for that.
Yeah, right. And there's all these people out there, they're like, I'm an independent filmmaker. Give me $5. I'll make a movie.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. And I get all that. I do. But here, at the end of the day, this is kind of my Hollywood is slowly right now. I use Hollywood as a general term, but I think there's this idea of, okay, guys, just punching movies out all the time is not really going to happen. And so I think what you're seeing, and it's funny because it's like kind of that, it's the double-edged sword. You can't win. So example today.
No, it would be tough.
Well, an example today, they just announced that the Batman, the second Batman from Matt Reeves in the Our Pat Batman series, has been delayed until October 2027.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was a 2026 movie. And so, and of course, that fandom was like, what? But here's, I'm telling you, I think you're going to see more, and I think you're going to see more space between sequels. I think you're going to see less content. I mean, again, granted, we did see 600, some plus movies this year, which was more than last year. But I think Hollywood is starting to realize, that if they want the returns that they want, if people are not going to run out to the theaters like they used to, or if it's unpredictable. And I think that's the thing, Jason. People have shown they'll come. It's just unpredictable. Nobody knows anymore.
What gets...
I mean, every headline from May 1st through to Memorial Day was theaters are dead.
Yeah.
And then Inside Out came, and,
And they're like, and
we
weren't prepared for this.
Right. And
we talked about this with Barbie and Oppenheimer last year, too. They weren't originally marketed that way.
No.
The people who made these films didn't think they would be blockbusters, and they were marketed as such. And then,
and I think
the viral nature of them started to take off, and then, we're going to pour some more into marketing. Then.
Yeah,
and that.
Well, Inside Out
I don't blame anybody for that, but you wouldn't be able to predict it.
You had two movies this year that were similar to Barbie and Oppenheimer. You had Inside Out 2 and Deadpool and Wolverine. Both made over $600 million.
Yeah.
I mean, when you...
Number one and number two for worldwide box office right now.
And when you look at lifetime grosses, just so everybody has some context here, I mean, that's not anything to, bat your, I mean, we're talking... That's number 11 and 12 all-time domestic grosses. That's not... I mean, and here's the thing. If Inside Out had made, 50, 25, 30 more million, it'd be in the top 6. Yeah. That's how tight it is from 1 to 12. So, again, theaters aren't dead.
No.
Movies aren't dead. Things are unpredictable. It used to be you threw out a movie on a weekend, it was going to make 100 million, 150.
Beetlejuice beating Twisters. I would
never have predicted that.
Having seen them both, it makes sense. But I would never. If someone had asked me to predict that, I would have said absolutely not.
Yeah, you would have said no.
Twisters
will
stomp all over Beetlejuice as a sequel goes.
Well,
but you have those two sequels landing in the same year, and Beetlejuice wipes the floor with Twisters.
If you would have told me that Gladiator 2 and its domestic run would have finished less than 160 million, I would have laughed at you as well. And that's at 158. That's not a great haul.
Ooh, and losing to Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes.
Well, and that's not great for Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. I mean, some of these make sense. The Wild Robot, that's an animated movie. Didn't cost a ton.
Niche.
But I don't think A Quiet Place Day One, that underperformed. It was critically well liked.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It doesn't, that's the other thing too. And I say this because I'm one of them, but I'm in this kind of situation where I can acknowledge a reality, and the film critic or the film reviewer, whatever you want to call that person, that's not what it was in the 80s.
Yeah.
And again, different generation.
That's a good point.
That would go to the newspaper and go, oh, look here.
Yeah.
Andy Morgan gave us 4 stars. Let's go.
That was. Do you remember calling the theater and listening to the descriptions of movies on the phone?
Press 1.
A landline.
Actually, one of the better Seinfeld episodes. Why don't you just tell me what movie?
Just tell me what
movie you want to see. Alien Romulus was another one. That movie was well liked by fans and critics. 105 million. That's it.
But this is the good news. So I'm still mad. Fall Guy is sitting one down from Red One, A Crime Against Nature.
I have to make $4 million. You're going to have to really ramp up your campaign.
That's seriously.
Just a tie.
Yeah, that's just, it blows me away. But Alien Romulus is beating them both.
Let's do
and
Gosling.
That makes me feel better.
Gosling versus The Rock.
I love that fight.
This is actually great because this is Cranky Friday, and so we spaced this out because we don't have a ton to talk about today in terms of the list that I'm going to give you.
Yeah,
and it's going to be fun to roast these movies, but I don't typically try to be negative, but we are going to talk today about my Andy's least liked movies of the year.
I'm excited for this.
And then next Friday, we're going to take some time and do some awards and talk about the best.
Okay.
The 2025 or 2024 had to offer.
The don't see list is next here on the For the People movie show. Right after this look at the news with KVNU's Bill Walter.
Thank you, Jason. KBNU News is brought to you by Cardall's Insulation. Utah Senator Mike Lee will lead the Senate's Energy and Natural Resources Committee when Republicans take control of the chamber next year, while incoming Senator John Curtis will serve on committees focused on commerce, the environment, foreign relations, and small business. Senator John Thune, Republican from South Dakota, the recently elected leader of the GOP Senate Conference, announced the committee assignments last week, noting that they still need to be ratified by the full Senate when the chamber meets early next year. Lee, Utah's senior Republican senator, will be elevated to chair the Energy and Natural Resources Committee, on which he currently serves. He will continue to serve on the Budget Committee and the Judiciary Committee, and will pick up a post on the Foreign Relations Committee. Lee said it's an honor to serve the people of Utah. Curtis, meanwhile, will serve alongside Lee on the Foreign Relations Committee, while also being picked for committees on commerce, environment, and public works, and small business. Romney, who Curtis was elected to replace, currently serves on the Budget and Foreign Relations Committees. He also serves on the Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions Committee and the Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee, both of which no longer have Utah representation in the next Congress. Denny Avdia and Shaden Sharp each scored 27 points, and Scoot Henderson made a tie-breaking jumper with 0.1 seconds to go as the Portland Trailblazers beat the Utah Jazz 122-120 in Portland. Henderson finished with 18 points and 10 assists. DeAndre Ayton's added 18 points and 12 rebounds. And Lauri Markkanen scored 25 points on 8 for 14 shooting to lead the Jazz. Colin Sexton added 19 points. Up next for the Jazz, they host Philadelphia on Saturday at the Delta Center. A winter storm warning continuing for the mountains until late Saturday night. Rain likely tonight, maybe mixing in with snow, and then very light snow accumulations expected. Rain possibly mixed with snow during the day on Saturday. High temperature tomorrow near 40. Rain likely Sunday. High temperature in the mid-40s. Get more news at CashValleyDaily.com.
ABC News, I'm Richard Cantu. Homelessness never higher than it is now, according to a federal government report.
It's known as the annual point-in-time estimate, a snapshot of American homelessness based on a single night in January. In 2024, the count was 771,480 people, an 18% increase from the prior year and a new record. The Department of Housing and Urban Development cites housing costs, rising inflation, displacement from natural disasters, a spike in immigration, and the ending of certain government benefits that were in place during the pandemic. Stephen Portnoy, ABC News, Washington.
Customs and Border Protection announced it seized more than 20,000 counterfeit vehicle inspection stickers in Philadelphia. We have learned of the death of Warren Upton, oldest living Pearl Harbor survivor and last remaining survivor of the Japanese capsizing of the battleship USS Utah. Upton managed to swim to safety that day. Warren Upton was 105 years old. This is ABC News.
As the weather outside turns frightful, it's time to think about making the inside of your home delightful. Wrap your home in warmth this winter with Cardall's Insulation. Their insulation doesn't just keep the cold out, it keeps the warmth in. Today's insulation will make your home quieter and can dramatically cut down on your energy bill. Whether it's an attic, garage, or your entire home in need of insulation, Cardall's Insulation is who you should call. 755-5012. There's still a tax credit up to $1,200 you can take advantage of. Call 755-5012.
Anderson Seed & Garden's Christmas blowout event continues. Now save 50 to 75% off almost all Christmas items in stock. That includes trees, ribbons, garland and wreaths, ornaments, and much more. They also have clearance markdown items starting at $1. All sales are final. It may be winter, but it's never a bad time to learn about gardening. Sign up for their weekly gardening class, which starts January 27th. $40 a person or $60 for two. See store for details. There's always something new at Anderson Seed & Garden, Logan.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People movie show with Andy Morgan. Recapping 2024. We're going to do this in 2 episodes, though. Due to the timing of the New Year's holiday, New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, won't be able to do it then. So we're going to split this into this week, as you've heard, obviously, and next Friday, January 3rd, after New Year's Day. So it's a twofer, year-end recap. But today is the Grumpy Show. So Andy is doing... What Andy's actually doing is playing with AI, and that is perfect, actually.
Just trying to make Jason crack up as anytime he looks over at me.
He's generating photos with AI to see if I lose my composure, but that actually is perfect. And it looks real. Andy's going to give you his... so yesterday I did, Andy, my favorite books of... 2024.
What was your number one?
With one I didn't really rank them. I just listed the ones that stood out to me. But I had one exception, which was the one to avoid. And so this is kind of the list you're doing right now.
Yes.
So my one to avoid, by the way, was Jonathan Haidt's Anxious Generation.
Oh,
lazy.
His follow-up to The Righteous Mind.
He describes all these things and does all this great data analysis, and then without any justification, he's like, it's smartphones.
Oh.
And it was so frustrating to read and just lazy.
That is too bad.
For a guy that's usually above that. Anyway.
I had 3 movies. They were at the bottom.
C list.
I had 3 movies. You know me. I rarely give an F.
Yeah.
But a D's pretty close.
And you don't give many D's.
And if I do give a D... I have to actually sit back and go, why didn't I give it an F? You know, it was like there was one redeeming quality. And I can tell you in each of these one redeeming quality, but it's just as a whole, like, it's one of those where you walk out of the theater and you go, well, I'm never getting that hour and a half back. Like, I could think of a million things I'd rather have done.
Have you ever left the theater mad?
Yes.
I have twice that I can think of.
Not
like
very often.
Angry it was made.
The Happening was the one for me. Yeah, I was so mad. I got sucked into that advertising.
Everybody did.
You know, I was like, M. Night's first.
So cool.
M. Night's first R-rated movie. This is going to be a real scorcher. You know, and you see all this, like, it's found footage. Like, people are watching on the phone, and you can see, like, the guy in the lion's den, and you're like, oh, my gosh. This is going to be insane.
It's like an apocalyptic sci-fi kind of. Yeah, I mean, everybody was excited.
It's the trees, and it's not even. It's the wind. We don't know.
Yeah, that's never really fully clarified.
Yeah.
But,
hey guys, there's no more bees.
It wasn't the bees, which would make sense.
Well, and here's another one. That movie that came out later in the summer, Trapped, with why can't I think of his name? Anyway,
in the mall.
No, not in the mall. In the concert.
Yeah, it's a concert.
Yeah, there was a lot of good things about that.
I actually liked that one.
Acting was good. The
security guard.
What completely took
security
me out.
guard that's inadvertently helping him. I thought that was one of the coolest writing.
Yeah, no, that was good.
Tricks that I had seen in a movie in a long time.
What took me out of the movie completely, was the concert and just the whole like interaction, like, and then of course M. Night shows up and he's like, "Yeah, I work for her. Yeah, how's it going?"
Directors shouldn't do that.
If I was making that movie, I would have actually had a real concert like Taylor Swift or Sabrina Carpenter or some real music. Like it's really hard to recreate. You know what I would pair it to is when you go and watch a movie, almost 90% of all movies that are about sports. Yeah. Anyone that's ever played sports, you're like, nope.
Yeah.
Nope. It just doesn't look right.
It always bothers me too because that level of consulting has to be so easy.
Yeah,
when you're working with the budgets they're working with, you couldn't call somebody and have them watch it.
No, I thought
before
it was
you finished editing. And
it marginalized the movie for me. But here's my 3 bottom ones. These are the 3 movies this year that I gave D's to. I didn't give an F this year. Surprise, surprise.
I remember 2 D's that you gave. I don't remember the third one.
Well, so the first one was Borderlands.
Yeah.
And someone out there's like, well, no, dude. it's just the only thing that prevented that movie from being a straight F was Jack Black. I can't believe I'm even saying that. Because,
that's how bad the movie was.
Jack Black can be quite annoying from time to time.
So bad that Jack Black was the redeeming quality.
The only thing I liked was his demented R2-D2 carry, the claptrap.
The reason Borderlands almost made me leave the theater angry is so this is what will generally make me mad, the potential.
Yeah.
When you see a trailer or a premise and you're like, that could be so good, and then you see it and it isn't, and then you're angry.
It's just lazy.
Yeah,
that one was
Borderlands was one of those.
Yeah, it was. I didn't really play the game that much. I played it a few times. It wasn't my thing, and I do like Cate Blanchett. It's hard not to like her. She actually kind of saved it a little bit for me, but everything else, and it just was not good.
No, the trailer's really good. I did. The full 2-minute trailer that they released just before it opened. I was so excited about that.
It felt like they took Guardians of the Galaxy and were like, "Hey guys, remember Guardians? We're kind of like that."
That's the kind of thing. If you're going to rip somebody off, you have to understand why what you're ripping off worked.
The second movie that I just hated every minute of it, almost every minute, was Y2K. That I saw just recently.
See, I didn't hate that one. I'm not recommending it, but I didn't hate that one.
I hated it. I not enough to give it an F. I mean, there was a few funny parts that I was like, okay, but it was a lot of when I did the review, a month or so ago, I said a lot of it was a lot of the Leonardo DiCaprio, snapping.
I remember that.
Hey,
I remember that.
Remember those shoes? Remember those? Yeah, remember Blockbuster Video?
Yeah.
I'll be honest, one of the parts I hated the most was the Fred Durst stuff.
Yeah, that's when it started to lose me. Although it was kind of funny.
He just happened to be in your town.
Yeah,
come on, guys.
That was the part that and of all the '90s rock icons, they could have pulled in for that role.
Might as well have AI'd Kurt Cobain. Actually,
that would have been better. Actually,
but no, that was my problem. I just funny trailer, stupid movie, and then the other one I really didn't care for, and again, this one surprised me, and I think everyone now, and nobody call in with spoilers because I've only watched 3 episodes. But I think now everyone that's watched Yellowstone and with minus Kevin Costner is like, really, bro? You bowed out for Horizon Part 1? We don't even know if Part 2, Part 3, and Part 4 are ever going to happen. We're just going to be like, I guess it ended at that Horizon. Yeah. That was that one, if it wasn't for the cinematography and a few other scenes.
Which wasn't enough for me.
And for a few other scenes, that movie would have been a straight flat F for me. It was the most incoherent, just self-aggrandizing, just inflated, just celluloid vomit that I have seen in a long... It honestly was probably pretty close to The Happening. It was a couple scenes away from me raging. And I actually kind of raged during it. I was like... I couldn't follow the story, and I'm not the smartest man on the planet, but
I don't think
we talked about this. It was like it opens up and you're like, oh, look, they're making a little house by the bank of the river. And then suddenly they're not. And there's dead people and somebody's buried. And then another town shows up and then it flips over to the Montana and then it flips over somewhere else. And you're like, what's going on? And also, why is Luke Wilson in here? Because he is not serious.
Yeah, it's hard to put him in the role they put him in.
Yeah, it was
that kind of I didn't finish that.
I watched the whole thing, and then it ends.
I looked at the runtime and I'm like, nah.
But then it ends, Jason. This is the silliest thing I've ever seen.
It's part 1, right?
Yeah, it ends. It ends, and the whole last 5 minutes is coming soon in 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Yeah,
and it's all this stuff they've already filmed, and you're like, why didn't we put that in the movie? So
yeah,
I'm assuming that some of those will see the light of day. Maybe they'll just go direct to streaming, but I was not pleased with Kevin Costner. I mean, good for you, buddy, passion project. But as we've learned with Costner over the years, that when he ventures out into one of his passion projects, it usually puts a colon or a
I
semicolon.
don't think they should be allowed to do passion projects.
Well, yeah, because who
I was
else?
talking about this in hour one. Nobody walked up to Francis Ford Coppola and said, "Hey, Fran,
I liked Mega.
This is awful."
I liked Megaopolis more than I liked Horizon because at least I was laughing throughout the whole thing with.
Yeah, which I don't think was.
I was like
Francis's intent.
Well, you know what? I'm surprised the Golden Globes didn't nominate it for best drama or comedy. Yeah, so those are my bottom three. Y2K.
Those are the don't sees.
Horizon and American Saga, Chapter 1. Don't ask when the next chapters are coming. Hopefully they burned that book. I'm all right with them burning that book.
Is there anything you didn't get to see that you really wanted to in 2024?
Oh, that's a great question. I'd have to really think about that one.
I was trying to think of it. I know there were a couple.
Oh, wait, actually,
but I can't.
Here's another movie. You know me. I don't do stars. I don't do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stars. It's just too hard. I like to do letter grades because there's things that I think is a B, but aren't like a C plus or a C. So maybe it's a B minus, right? Like it's not quite a B. Same thing with I love that movie, but it's not quite an A. It's like an A minus or B plus.
Oh, yeah.
So there was another movie I watched this year. It came out in June. It's called Kinds of Kindness. This is Emma Stone.
Yeah.
This was one of those. I think this was initially.
I didn't see this. I saw a trailer for this.
Yeah, the trailer came out, and it was kind of like people were like, "Oh, this is going to be another Yorgos." I don't even know what his last name is.
Yeah. That guy.
Yorgos. That guy. He's got the Lobster movie.
Yeah.
They obviously Poor Things was a big winner.
Good but
last
weird.
year.
Good but weird.
And I'm fine.
You can't stop watching them, but they're so weird.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
This movie was so full of itself that I just
really.
This was a rage one with me. I liked a lot of this. There was parts of the story I liked. There was other parts where it's funny because the substance with Demi Moore and that movie could have gone this way.
Yeah,
it could have gone the Kinds of Kindness way, and it didn't. And that's where Kinds of Kindness failed. Is it was almost like obsessed with itself, that it just became, I don't know, just like not that there was an effort. It was just
too much.
Yeah, too much. It reminded me.
I get that.
Maybe I'll see it again in like a year or two, and I'll go, "Oh, why was I so harsh on that?" As I've done that before.
Yeah.
A movie that comes to mind on that is
you have to be in the right mood for movies like that. Movies that are taking themselves that seriously.
And I watched it twice just because the first time I watched it, I was kind of not in the best of frame of mind.
Yeah.
So I watched it again to see if I was wrong, and it kind of felt the same way. The movie that I did that with a while back was Babylon, Damien Chazelle, the La La Land. The trailers made it look great, and then I watched it and I thought this movie is so in love with itself.
Yeah.
and it really made me upset, and so I didn't like it. And then I watched it like a year later.
I did that.
And I liked it.
What was the Adam Driver marriage one?
Oh, Marriage Story.
Marriage Story. I did that with that one.
Mm-hmm.
I saw it the first time and I'm like, get over yourselves.
Then you saw it again and we're like, why did I hate that?
Then when it hit the streaming services, I decided to give it another chance because I knew I should have liked it. And I actually really liked it.
What else? Let's see. So
I gave any underrated. I listed The Fall Guy as one, and my other one was
I gave a straight up A to Fall Guy. I don't care. I have no apologies.
I'm still surprised that one didn't make more money. My other one, though, this might surprise you. It was the Andrew Garfield one that was just in theaters.
We Live in Time.
Yeah.
That was one of my. That wasn't one of my favorites.
Underrated, I thought.
Oh, underrated for sure. Yeah,
people should see that. And it didn't make a lot of money.
I
thought that was pretty good.
I gave Kinds of Kindness a C minus. The other movie I gave a C minus to this year, and I almost feel bad about it because I didn't rage during it. I was just like, meh. It's just this. This wasn't a theater movie. It was a direct to streaming on Amazon Prime. It was called Ricky Stenicki. And it was.
I saw this one ironically after your review.
Yeah,
because you disliked it so much in some key ways.
I like John Cena, and I think he's a funny guy, and he's kind of developed this niche. Like, have you seen the Peacemaker series on HBO?
Yeah,
on Max?
I love him in that, but like that parenting one that they did, I wanted him. I know it wasn't a horror movie, but I wanted horror movie things to happen.
Yeah, I mean,
he's hit or miss for me as a comedic actor.
He's like the action Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
That's
But I mean, I
feel.
guess every comedian kind of is.
It's funny that you referred to him as a comedian.
Yeah.
Remember when he was in the Marine?
Comedic actor, I guess.
2004?
I should say. Because what's the guy from We Are the Millers and Ed Helms? Or
are you thinking of the guy that plays Ted Lasso?
Yeah. See, he's like that for
Jason Sudeikis.
Like I thought he was hilarious. Actually, the other guy too, the Kingpin that he's working for in We Are the Millers from The Office.
Ed Helms.
That's Ed Helms. Yeah. He's hit or miss for me. He can be hilarious, and then sometimes just
you know what it is.
In comedic
I'm going to use
Cena's like that for me.
I'm going to use a sports metaphor here.
That's fair.
There's something where like you'll have a team where it's Michael Jordan. He's got Michael Jordan. You got Scottie Pippen, and it works. But when you take one of them out, it doesn't. So anyway.
John Stockton gets his medical advice from his chiropractor now.
Makes sense.
I read that on the internet, and I'm like,
makes sense.
Money will do weird things to you. So next week, you're going to do
the best,
the must-sees.
Yes.
Okay. That is, so that's part one there of the 2024 recap from Andy Morgan here on the For the People movie show. Part two next Friday.